Hi, I'm Megan Bell, and I'm the librarian for the School of Health Professions, and I'm going to give you an overview of how to find literature for your assignments for this class. Here are the main ideas for this video. So think about looking for information as when you need a microscope versus binoculars. So a microscope is when you need very fine details of things, so it's really specific, versus binoculars when you want to get a general overview of a layout of what you're looking at. So think about looking for information in that way, which means that you're going to use different tools depending on what is your information need. So sometimes you're going to need background information. Sometimes before you can find articles, you need to kind of get some general information on the topic. And also sometimes getting that background information can help you brainstorm keywords, which are other ways of, synonyms, other ways of describing the concept that you're looking for. We're going to talk more about that later. But when you have a background need, it's for people who maybe don't know a lot about the topic, or you just need to get a little bit more information on it. You can find that in an encyclopedia, a dictionary, it could be a medical dictionary, medical encyclopedia, textbooks, maybe it's a reading that you have for your class, websites, sometimes just doing a general Google search on a particular topic or a word or a phrase can kind of help you get a little bit of better understanding of the topic. You can look in other books on the topic, government reports, professional associations, those are all places where you would get it. Here's an example. I did not know what purposeful rounding was, so I just did a general Google search on that particular phrase, and I found a definition in the American Nurses Association on their website. So that was helpful to give me a general idea, so when I pull articles, I know the article I'm retrieving is what I'm looking for. So where do you search for background information, or how do you find it? You can just use a search engine, and you can try to find government publications, professional associations, nonprofit publications, and try to give some background information on your topics. You can also look for ebooks, so you can type in the topic that you're looking for. You can go to our catalog, type in the topic that you're looking for, make sure it's on everything, and then select available online, books, and then click the available online, and you'll be able to view it off campus. It'll just ask you for your Blazer ID and password. So foreground information. So that's when you have a very specific question and you want to know whether anyone else has done research and published that research on that particular question. You can find this information in a conference presentation. Maybe someone did a poster or a paper presentation at a conference. Someone may have done a dissertation on the topic, or maybe they published a journal article on that topic. Here's an example. What role does teamwork play in improving patient safety culture in an emergency department? So I did a basic search, and an article I found on this topic is the role of teamwork and communication in the emergency department, a systematic review. So someone did a search, they gathered a whole bunch of articles on this topic, and then they synthesized that information in a systematic review. So how do I search for articles? How do I search for this very specific information? You can use our library catalog. I don't recommend it, but some people like to use it. And just if you're off campus, you'll be prompted for your Blazer ID and password. And you can still take advantage of all of our library content. I usually recommend students go to a database. Usually for your program, people tend to use PubMed. And you can, when you go to our databases list, you'll usually see PubMed on the right. And you can just click on PubMed and get to our databases. So we want to get full text. If you're in Google Scholar, you need to click on the button that says full text at UAB. Because if you just go straight to Google Scholar, you may find an article that you like, but you may not be able to access the full text. So make sure you click on this link, and it'll give you instructions on how to set your computer to be able to get the full text, get access to articles UAB has paid for if you're using Google Scholar. If you're in PubMed, you want to look for a green full text at UAB button. So as long as you access PubMed through the library homepage, you should see that button on the right-hand side whenever you're trying to access an article. If there is an article that we don't have immediate access to, you can request it using our interlibrary loan service. So you'll see this particular page when you click on that full text button I told you about, I just mentioned. If we don't have it You'll take you to this page and you just click on request article from UAB libraries. And then it'll take you to this page and you log in with your Blazor ID and password. You put in the article's information, request the article, and you should have it within 24 to 48 business hours. So where do you search for articles? I suggest people in your program tend to use PubMed and Google Scholar. So here's our research question. I'm going to take you through how to search for an article. So what role does teamwork play in improving patient safety culture in the emergency department? The first thing I need to do, here are the steps to find articles. I identify the keywords in my research question. Then I use those keywords as well as synonyms to help me construct the search. And then I combine those terms with connectors and, are, and not. So the first step is I identify the keywords. What is a keyword? So a keyword means you put things in your natural or common language in order to find articles. So words like cancer, ADHD, stroke, heart attack, that's just putting it in common language. There are some benefits and disadvantages of searching this way. So some advantages is that you get to use it and put it in your own words, put it in common language in order to search for it. Makes it a whole lot easier. You can search across multiple fields at the same time. So in other words, it'll search the title of the article's abstract, the title of the journal, all those places, author's name, all those places at the same time. You can use it to find current subjects. So if there's a trending topic, you can use it to find that information if you just put it in your own words. You can do something called truncation to search for word variation. So for example, if I put in the word department with an asterisk on the end, it'll pull in both the singular and plural forms of department. It may be used in combination with other keywords, for example, synonyms. So if my topic is teamwork, I can look for teamwork together, or teamwork as a phrase could be two words, or I can think of other ways of describing teamwork like collaboration or cooperation, things like that. Some disadvantages could be that sometimes your results may be too broad. You may get some irrelevant results because it depends on how that particular word is used in context. So just because you're just putting that word in, depends on how they're using it. It's not indexed to specific. If you don't tell it to look for that word only in the title or only in the abstract, then it's going to just pull in everywhere. So that could also contribute to you getting some irrelevant results. And multiple search terms are often needed to retrieve relevant information. So for example, if my topic is on emergency departments, I have to realize that everyone who's writing an article, they may not always say emergency department. They may say emergency unit or emergency ward or emergency service, things like that. So I may need to use all those different words or phrases in order to retrieve relevant results. So in my particular research question, my keywords are teamwork, patient safety, and emergency department. And what that means is when I retrieve articles, I want to make sure those three main ideas are discussed in that article. So now I also want to pull in some synonyms too. So why do I need to pull in synonyms? Now, if you look at the middle of this page, it's a cold winter day. And if you look at the picture on the right and on the left, you see something that can keep my legs warm. And if we were to all kind of come up with words for what we see to the right and to the left, we may come up with words like leggings, sweater tights, leggings, tights, stockings, all those different words. We're looking at the same picture, we're describing the same concept, but we're coming up with different words. So when you are looking for articles, you're also going to need to think of different words, different ways of saying the particular topic that you're looking for. So where do you look for synonyms? Some of it's going to come from your clinical expertise. You're going to know how people in your field tend to describe certain things, so you can just add those words to your search. Some of it's going to come from websites. You can just use a search engine and put in the word and maybe put in the word synonym after that word and maybe kind of browse through your results to get some ideas on other ways of saying that particular concept. You can also use something called the mesh database, and it can also give you some ideas. So I'm going to show you how to do some of this stuff. So if you just use a website, so I put in teamwork synonym into Google and I came up with some other synonyms or like cooperation and collaboration. So those are some other words I can include in my search to help me get some more results. When I want to search mesh database, mesh is a tool that can be used different ways, but one way I tend to use it is I use it to help me brainstorm synonyms. So when I go to PubMed, I look in the bottom right-hand corner and it says Mesh Database. I click on that. And then from there, in the search box, I type whatever my concept is. So whether it's teamwork or emergency department or patient safety, whatever concept I'm looking for, I break it apart to each individual concept, and I see if I can find a mesh term for that concept, and then I look in the record to try to find some synonyms. So I type it in the search box. And then from here, so this time I want to see if I can find some more synonyms for the concept of emergency room. I want to know what are other ways I can say it. So I just put emergency room in the search box, and it brings up a list of results that may match what I'm looking for. So it's really important that I read the definition. The link, the hyperlink that's in blue or in purple, that is the actual mesh term. And underneath it is a definition of what PubMed means when it uses that particular word, that particular phrase, that particular label. So I need to make sure I read that definition, and if it matches what I mean, the kind of articles I'm looking for, then I click on that particular label. So I picked emergency service hospital. Now I'm going to ignore the top portion of this particular record, and what I'm going to focus on is the middle part that says entry terms, and then it lists different options. So where it says ideas for synonyms, that's where you focus. So I see things like emergency unit, emergency service, there's a whole list there. They had emergency department, all those different things. You don't use everything, because notice that some of it's in inverted order. You don't use that, but you just kind of use it as a way to think of other ways of saying it. So I'll just pick and choose certain things from that particular list. So here's what I came up with. Using the various methods that I mentioned to you, here's what I came up with. The keyword is teamwork. Synonyms, teamwork. I may put teamwork where it's an individual, where it's a phrase instead of being together. I thought about collaboration, cooperation. Those are all words I can use in my search. Patient safety, I just kept patient safety. Now I have it in quotation marks because quotation marks tell the database I want you to look for those words together. They have to be right next to each other. If I don't put those quotation marks, it may find patient somewhere and find safety somewhere else, and it may not be together, which means that's going to give me an irrelevant result. So I use the quotation marks to keep those, to tell the database you have to look for those words together. Emergency department, some of the phrases I came up with were emergency department, singular and plural, emergency service, singular and plural, emergency unit, singular and plural, emergency ward, singular and plural. So here are some other tools that you may use. I mentioned truncation already and how you can use that. Phrase searching, I just explained that to you. Dash and the asterisk. So in PubMed, you can put, if I put emergency dash department, that's another way for me to tell PubMed that I want you to look for those words together. They have to be right next to each other. And putting the asterisk on the end means I'm telling it to look for emergency department as well as emergency departments, plural. So it just kind of save me some space. I don't have to spell each thing out. So let's talk about phrase searching just a little bit. So in a database, I can tell the database exactly where I wanted to search for that word or phrase. If I just put an emergency department in the search box, it's just going to search for it everywhere. And I kind of talked about this already. But if I say emergency department, but I tell it to look for that phrase only in the title, that's going to help me get more specific results. It can also help me if I'm getting like a lot of results. That's one way that I can limit my search and make my results more relevant. So here's an example. If I use emergency department, it'll search all fields. However, if I put emergency department with a TI at the end, that tells PubMed to only search for that phrase in the title. If I put TIAB, that tells it to search for that phrase in the title and the abstract. Last, I got to combine all my words I came up with the connectors and, or, and sometimes not. So how do I use this? So there are tools to help either expand or restrict our search. So we use or to help us expand our search. So I use or between my synonyms. So in my search, I came up with emergency department, emergency unit, emergency service, emergency ward. So I'm going to use or between those words because I want PubMed to pull in any article it finds that has any of those words. We use and not to restrict a search. So and is going to be used between our concepts. So for example, we want articles that are about patient safety and emergency department and the third concept as well. Not should be used carefully. So use it if you have a broader concept and if there's something more specific that you know you don't want it to retrieve. So it should be used very carefully. So here's my final search. I have in the parentheses, think about it like math. It was please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And the P is parentheses that tells the database look inside the parentheses first and then go outside the parentheses. So when I have all the team concept in parentheses, I'm telling the database, if you find any of those words, retrieve the article. And then I want you, and then go to patient safety. And then if you find any of the emergency department concepts, pull that into. So it's a way it tells the database how to group your words. So here's my final search that I put together, and it retrieves about 129 results. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, or you can use our Chat with the Librarian service.